All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of On Cycle. It's a fun one. I like this time of year because we're going to talk about the JANUAL, right? Which, by the way, if you didn't know, that's the annual meeting that happens in January.
Hence JANUAL.
That's right. We're very creative here.
Portmanteau. Portmanteaus are in this year.
Yeah. We're very creative here in the drum corps world, and we
Yeah.
like to combine words together to make fun other words.
Yeah.
So, yeah, exactly. So the JANUAL's here. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Before you forget, though, don't forget, make sure you click like, make sure you click subscribe, make sure you hop on there, hype us up if you can't find that. You haven't figured out how to do that. Hit that hype button if you're in the first 72 hours. And if you haven't figured out yet that half of the time that you spend watching with us, actually, let me rephrase that, all the time you spend watching with us, goes towards a pot of money that we give back to scholarships, which hopefully in the next 2 weeks we'll be announcing how much that scholarship is going to be as we tally up all of our earnings from last year between the Patreon that you can also go down here. Go check out the Patreon if you want to be a member. We got another new member the other day. Thank you very much.
Did?
Yeah, we did.
Excellent.
Yeah. And
The army grows.
The army grows, right? And so if you're there and you are checking us out, go check out the Patreon, go check out all those things. It helps us grow our bank of money to be able to give out to our scholarship, which we'll be talking about in a few weeks. So that's all the good, that's all the normal.
The housekeeping.
Yeah, the housekeeping. That's what we call it, the housekeeping.
Yeah.
So let's get into the JANUAL.
Yeah.
So the JANUAL, obviously, like we said before, the JANUAL is the annual meeting where all the DCI muckety mucks, the head boys, right, get together and they start talking about all the comings and goings of what is going on in drum corps, DCI specific. And so let's just talk about some like arbitrary things that I learned. I want to tell you something I learned. I don't know if you know this or not.
Oh, yeah?
Did you know, right? And for those of you out there in listening land, did you know that DCI has a board of directors that is 9 people strong, right? That is their board of directors. And every year they nominate or elect 3 people to sit on that board of 9, so for a 3-year term. So every year, 3 people have the potential to be turned over. You can obviously run again, I guess, and be voted in as a continuing member of the board. But if you choose to leave or they choose not to bring you back, you have a 3-year term. And then, so every 3 years, so basically every year, 3 new people could potentially change the board of directors for DCI. I didn't know that. It's a fun little thing I did in my research. That was pretty cool. I was like, look at DCI being super real. I don't know. I think sometimes
not doing lifetime appointments for the executive team.
Right. Yeah. Which is unique, I think, because a lot of times when we look at drum corps, I think we forget how business-oriented drum corps is.
Especially from the topmost perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? We look at drum corps as this individual package a lot of times. Like we have directors and CEOs of corps, and they just kind of do what drum corps do, and then all of a sudden we just show up, and those guys are in charge of putting everything together and getting everything together. And because I think we all, unless you are in the higher version of the activity, we all kind of function as members in this belief that our corps directors are like our mini gods. And they just kind of like do all the things, right? We just love them. They take care of business. They do all the things. And if you're a good corps director, you're not allowing all the other nonsense that's going on, that all the planning and all the stuff to interfere into the member experience.
Right. That's a behind the curtain sort of endeavor, right? Because usually you show up in the first couple of years. We had my second year ever in Bucks, we had a big like election turnover where it was like, that was the whole like we're like there was an actual like there's 2 people running against one another for who's going to be the corps director the next year.
Right.
But it was only a second year member. I was showing up. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I was like, I can't even name what a corps director does besides talk to us at the end of at the end of like rehearsals.
Right.
Because they usually. Right, you want to keep them a little bit separate so that the members can just show up and worry about doing member things. Right, and not have to worry about all the logistical stuff beyond what's their responsibility from point A to point B.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what makes corps good, in my opinion, is when you keep that stuff at that level and let those people do that, because
the planning people can focus on the planning, and the artsy performing people can focus on the artsy performing stuff.
And at DCI All Age is kind of interesting in the fact that a lot of corps directors can be younger and or younger than some of the members that are marching, which is always a very unique perspective.
Yeah.
Because in the DCI World Corps, all your directors are obviously going to be much older than your performing members.
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't often see people who are very close to that because it's their way of staying connected to an activity that they are no longer eligible to do.
Yeah.
So they can't be a part of it unless you're maybe at the teaching level or the instructing level. But
and their way of bringing in years of experience in a non-drum corps venture,
yes,
business and management skills and whatnot, and being able to stay connected to that community and give back with your specific skill set
exactly
developed over years.
Exactly, and that's a lot of what the board is made up of. I was reading this, the three people that were, I think all three of them were reelected back into their positions again, and one of the gentlemen,
three more years.
One of the gentlemen is, and I can't remember his name. Jack will tell me in a second. He's the CEO for Vanguard.
Yeah, Russ Gavin got elected.
Yeah, Russ Gavin.
And
Classic Russ. Good for you.
He is the only person that is in the first term.
Oh, really? I thought he had been there for a while.
No, he's the CEO of Vanguard Music and Performing Arts, but he is in his first term on the board of directors. The other two, Patrick Sweeney and Don Rollins, are reelected.
Okay, so there you go.
Great
so
names.
new people into the fold, which I think is good for the activity, right? I think so often we get not stuck with, that's a bad way of saying it. We have people that stay for a significant amount of time, either for two reasons. One, because they just love it so much and they don't want to leave or don't want to give up the reins. Or two, there's nobody else to take over for them.
Yeah.
Which I think happens more time than anything else. And if you want to keep something alive, they kind of have to stay and just do that. So the fact that we have rotating people on the board of directors, I think is a really great it's really good for the activity, and it's good to see that it's
probably
still
a good
happening.
sign.
Yes,
right?
thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
It's
Sign.
healthy.
You know that
right?
4-letter word I couldn't think of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
That
good
thing
sign.
you see on the roads, I ignore them usually.
Exactly. So it's really cool. But I thought it was interesting that like every year 3 new people get looked at and brought in, or are eligible to stay, whatever it is. I think it helps me believe that DCI, because I already believed this, but it gives me a higher appreciation for how kind of well of an oiled machine DCI has become over the years.
Yeah,
and
it
it
gives more
me
faith in how everything's being run.
Yeah, because sometimes I think that's what you have, is you just have faith to sit back and go, I believe that whatever people are doing, they are truly doing it at the best interest of the activity, right? And wherever it's going to go, and all these other things too, and all those things, away from judging, away from your favorite corps, away from all those things too, is drum corps going to exist in the long period?
Yeah.
Which I think is cool. Like, did you see, this is a little bit old news too, but like Yokohama Tires is the sponsor for DCI Allentown.
What? No.
Yeah. They're the
Nice.
official sponsor. DCI, the Facebook page put up a thing about Allentown, and it said this year is sponsored by Yokohama Tires.
That rules.
That's awesome. I was like, that's great. And I think they're technically officially the official tire of DCI. So any corps
So
that
all the convoys are going to get the Yokohama tires.
Well, I don't think they're going to get them, but they're probably going to get a huge discount. I think
Probably, yeah.
part of what the sponsorship comes with is hopefully money, but also too is a discount on things like tires and maybe maintenance as you're traveling, because I'm sure that they have shops across the country, so there's discounts like that thing. But those are the kind of things, and that's probably Nate.
Yeah.
Boudreau. Am I saying that correctly? Is that how you say his last
Bordeaux?
name? Bordeaux.
I don't know. Bordeaux is a last name that I know.
I think it's Boudreau, or I don't know. Whatever. It's French Canadian.
So there's an X in there probably.
There is an X in there. Yeah, I think so. So, but anyway, that's the kind of stuff that he's bringing to the table.
Yeah.
And that was when his first year he was here. He had talked about corporate sponsors. I remember listening to an interview from him. He's like, "Hey, this is the thing we really need to start bringing in sponsors." Because I don't know if you knew this or not too. He comes from Water Sports USA, or he was involved he was a big person. He was a CEO previously of all kneeboard water sports or something like that. It's some wild thing. Like, I don't know anything about it, but
man.
He's a really interesting dude. And I kind of every time I
that.
hear him speak, or anytime I see interviews with him, I have faith from a business perspective that DCI is doing well.
Yeah.
Right. Because he just
Which is exactly what, right? Like, you want to obviously have the creatives doing what they're doing and making great shows, making great art. But the person who's in charge, honestly, I could when it comes from a business perspective, it's almost like, the appreciation for the activity is secondary to keep the ship afloat.
Yeah, correct.
Keep everything running smoothly, keep all the finances so that everyone else can do their creative thing.
Yeah. And
right?
emotionally,
keep making the culture of the activity what it is.
and emotionally stay out of the way. I think that's the big thing there too.
Yeah.
Is that you have people
Right,
who
or
are
like-
very
like-
passionate.
Right? Like take what, listen to the community and hear what people value, right? And what you should prioritize. But then
After that,
what once you have those in place, you approach it with a cold logic.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's in the military we call them force multipliers, right?
Oh,
you,
yeah.
you have to take when you take charge, you have force multipliers. You have people that work for you that you have to trust to do the pieces of the puzzle that need to get done. You understand the big picture. You always understand the big picture, and you understand portions of each part of the puzzle, but you're not the one putting the pieces in. You're the one just
Yeah.
making sure that you're putting the right people in place so that they can put the pieces in correctly, right? Force multipliers.
It's a very army style way to just talk about delegation.
Yeah, it's all it
force
is.
multiplier.
Yeah, force multiplier. Yeah, so yes, it is. It's
Yeah,
fun. It's
it's
such
a good way to do
It's a
it,
way
though.
better.
It sounds like
it's more
cooler, yeah.
powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
so anyway, I thought that was a cool thing to start with because there really wasn't much going on in the way of like other news from the JANUAL this
Especially
year.
because usually it's every other year that they do like the big rules. for
Yes,
anything,
yeah,
right?
so-
And so we did a whole episode last year on the rules where we talked for like an hour and a half being like, here's what this is a cool rule. What would the implications of this be? What would this be? And then at the end of the day, it was like one rule passed. And it was the one that we were kind of mad about.
Yeah, like who cares? Like why is it was the one about the cowbells and all the
like
auxiliary.
woodwind and solo or something. Oh wait,
Oh,
was it? It was
Wait,
like it was,
there were
only-
two rules. There were two rules. Yeah.
Well, there
the
was like
shitty
one tiny
woodwind,
one
yeah.
that was like,
Right.
yeah, the woodwind one that we were mad about.
Yeah, exactly. And then the
And then Blue
there
Knights put an oboe in their show, so
Right.
an alto sax, alto sax, I think.
was
I
it an
thought-
alto sax?
or was
I
it
thought an
oboe? And then alto sax was in Blue Devils. Blue Devils also put a
Okay,
BK had the oboe.
That's
Blue
what it is.
Devils had the soprano sax.
there it is.
yeah
Yeah. How did you not remember
alto
that?
sax.
What kind of,
because
what
I
kind of
thought-
BK fan are you?
Because they sound
Aren't you an alumni?
their timbre ends up sounding fairly similar
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the field. Because I was like, I remember a kid in one of those terrible Blue Knights uniforms, rocking on some tiny woodwind instrument, but I couldn't remember which one did the oboe versus the soprano sax.
I think Blue.
I do think the incorporation of the oboe was far better than the soprano sax. I remember the Blue Devil soprano sax came out, and I was like, this could have been a trumpet.
there's zero reason why if they're going to put a soprano sax in a show, they don't do a Kenny G show. Period. There's zero reason. That's it. Just
It's the only good reason.
it's the only good reason to
to
have Kenny G show. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so I thought that was so. As far as so again, like for those of you who may be watching this who don't know that, is that every 2 years the JANUAL does a rules congress where they kind of reevaluate rules. They
big
take
deal.
in new stuff. Yeah,
Everyone's
so,
real mad about it.
yeah. No, we didn't do it this year because last year they did it. So excuse me, next year.
So we got next year,
It'll be
to,
next year.
to
That'll
build
be-
up all our crazy ideas about amplification and judging sheets
Right.
and the playable area of
yeah,
the
we should
field.
have fire on the field from now on. You know?
We should be required to have live
it's
pyrotechnics.
required. If there's no
Doves.
fireworks,
and the fire do not mix well.
yeah, right. Oh, you have flaming doves.
Oh,
It's a
that'd be
requirement to
pretty
have flaming
cool.
doves. That'd be cool.
Pretty sick.
When
Prince
doves,
show.
when doves fly, yeah.
When doves fry.
So stupid. So anyway, so there is big news for at least for us, right?
Yeah.
On the
you want to
front
start
of-
off with that one? I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's the
Yeah.
meatiest one.
Yeah, it's definitely the biggest one. So for those of you who don't know, DCA 2 years ago came into the fold into DCI, and DCI adopted us, and that's what we call DCI All Age now. And we had brought over a system that had previously existed from DCA, which was the 3 categories, which was a
three
world,
classes.
open, and
A.
A class, right?
Which I see. You see this a lot in band competitions and other things where it's like they have a naming system that is clearly hierarchical. It's based on size,
Sure.
and the names give no indication of hierarchy. If you
Yeah.
like, if I took a person that was outside the drum corps culture and said rank these in terms of hierarchy, world, open, and A, they'd have like a 60% shot of getting it right.
Yeah, I think I would put it world A and then open. I think that's how I
Probably,
would
yeah.
do it. Because world, biggest thing, the world.
World biggest
right?
thing. That's
World-
probably
world
good, right?
biggest thing, right?
Or
Right.
maybe world is just what they console the smallest group or whatever
true.
by
Who
but
knows?
and because A is first,
Right.
Surely, right?
I mean, that makes sense. It's the first letter of the alphabet.
Yeah.
So
It's like it's like naming your team A and team 1.
right.
Like, which one is
which one's first? I don't know.
But anyway,
So
I just had to get
anyway.
that grievance out. I hate it when people
Don't-
name hierarchical things.
Don't worry.
Sans hierarchy.
We're gonna have a moment where you can complain. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so that rule went away, And now we've gone to a one class system. So
Yep.
it's just going to be everybody, no holes barred, get in the ring and see who wins.
Which is,
and then
last year they had that change where we would have like class finals, then full all age finals where everyone's competing against each other. So it's basically just going to be, that's the whole thing now.
yeah, exactly.
Which now, is it going to officially just now be semis?
The semis or prelims, whatever. I guess whatever.
Yeah,
It'll
whichever
probably
one
be
it is.
prelims for us.
Probably it would make sense to do prelims and finals.
Yes,
You're gonna
because
just
that's
do-
what it used to be for us in the DCA world. So if I were, trying to be historical about it, I would want to keep the prelims,
Yeah.
terminology.
Yeah. We all also called it prelims.
Yeah.
The entirety of those last few days we were like, oh yeah, prelims is on Saturday.
Right, because,
prelims on Friday.
years ago, because it was quarterfinals and then it was prelims and then I don't know, semis is
Wow.
relatively newish. Like back in my day,
Oh, really?
They didn't have. I don't think they had semis. It was quarterfinals, semis, quarterfinals, prelims, and then yeah, it was different. Yeah, you go ahead, Jack.
Officially on the website, this was not like this last week, but it has officially changed to DCI All Age World Championship Prelims.
There,
Prelims,
perfect.
there we go.
There it is.
We're
So
back.
it's prelims now. So we're gonna have prelims, which again, if you don't know, if you didn't know this last year, and you're coming out the finals, remember your prelims tickets for Saturday. Excuse me, for your prelims tickets for Saturday. No, Jesus,
Friday.
Good Lord.
I had the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, because we used to do
on
because
Sunday.
DCA finals were Saturday, Sunday.
Correct. Yes.
Right,
So I always
but-
get it messed up still. So your ticket for
it's
Friday,
Labor Day.
your ticket for Friday that you buy for DCI World, the
Mm-hmm.
big boys, counts for your ability to come in and see the prelims.
Complimentary
for
entry.
DCI All Age.
Yeah.
So
I think have they officially announced doing that again this year?
yes,
Okay,
they
cool,
are.
awesome.
Yeah, because when I
that was
saw
a
the
fun. That was a
tickets-
fun little like. I sure was not losing the money, and it's getting more eyes on DCI All Age.
Yeah.
You know,
I think what it ends up doing, I hope that what it ends up doing, or what it did last year, and I would love to. I reached out to John Carr and I was asking him questions, and that was one of the questions I asked him because I was curious, what was the financial number increase, or just the number increase of people attending finals last year because they saw prelims and were like, oh, cool, I would like to come back a little bit earlier
and watch it
possibly-
again
because
tomorrow.
finals is an extra price, right?
yeah.
and
The
tickets are
finals
already
tickets
so
were not included.
Right. So it's a little bit different. So here's the thing. So we have one class now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk pros and cons of
Okay,
the one class system. I'm curious how you feel about it because I know how I feel about it.
I think I'm generally pro. I think I'm fine with it.
Okay.
I think it always felt a little bit silly to have 3 classes for as small of a circuit as All Age and DCA was.
Right.
Right. I mean, it ended up being like 3 or 4 cores per class.
Yeah. It was
Pretty
4.
much.
I think it was 4 cores per class.
Yeah, right. Which like is
5.
just on the cusp of kind of being worth it. But felt kind of silly. I don't know. Like when 75% of the cores medal, technically.
Well, so I'll play the devil's advocate part of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the reason why they went to it originally was, I don't want to call it an argument, or I have my own arguments for about what I'm about to say. So this is me
Okay.
just standing up for, I think, what
Preliminary.
this is me standing up for what I believe the intent of the idea was.
There
Was that-
and there definitely was.
Yeah, we wouldn't
Conscious
have done
intention
we
behind
wouldn't have
it,
done
yeah.
it if there wasn't intent, right? So the intent of it was to be able to, as small cores, promote themselves as a champion, right?
Yeah.
And because it is very difficult, especially this day and age, when you're paying the kind of money that you're paying, to
Yeah.
go into a weekend activity, or even in the open classes, right? The open classes have a champion too, right? And you look at groups like Spartans and those guys, and they go, "We're a world champion, of our division." So why do you think they continued to grow over the years as they were getting better, right?
Yeah.
So the idea was to help go like groups like the Hurricanes, who won I think 2 or 3 years ago. They were like, "Hey guys, we won this year." Then you start bringing people back into the fold. It incentivizes members. Not that everybody needs to do this activity, everybody wants to do this activity because they just want to win and do all those things too. But it is nice to have a
Yeah,
recognition.
it is a bonus
something.
little thing you can put on your core resume.
Yeah,
to attract new members.
or it's something you could be proud of. It's just as simple, like, when you talk to your friends, it's the argument of like when I'm a high school kid and I walk around and go and I want to recruit all of my best buddies to come and march with me. I don't go to them and, guys, I had this great time last summer placing 7th place. Do you want to come and do this with me? Versus, hey
but
guys,
also, I mean, it's different, obviously. But if you march the 7th place core in DCI World Class Finals, you'd be like,
yes,
it was awesome. We made finals.
right.
We had a great show.
Right. And in DCI world, it makes sense because you need to make finals, right? There's lots of cores that don't make finals.
Yeah.
Right. For us, everybody's made finals for the last 20 years, well, pretty much.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite that many, 15 years. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a quote from John Carr.
Okay.
Which kind of almost complete. He's thinking the exact opposite of you guys, right?
Yeah.
He's saying we have more cores now that want to be part of all age, so it's time to move on from the subclasses that were limiting the size and growth of the core.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting.
So-
I heard him say that earlier, and I thought it was an interesting point.
I agree to it 100%. Right?
Yeah, like because it is inherently. I think that's the double-edged sort of it, right? If you're, say, like the Class A champion, and you're doing well and you're really growing, like, if you're getting a lot of attention on you, you're kind of limited because the classes are defined by size.
Correct.
So it kind of is like an immediate cap where people are like, okay, well, we like being able to be in Class A, but if we want to grow, we're going to have to move into a different class and get bumped down spots.
Yeah. It's the hierarchy. It's like when you go from 5th grade to middle school, like you're the big kid on the block in 5th grade, and then all of a sudden you go to middle school and you're like, man, I'm back to being a little 6th grader. It's the same thing when you go to high school, right? So it does, it takes the growth is difficult because as you move into the next grouping, you have to strategically go, do I want to take on these extra 5 people and be one of the smallest cores in the next division? Or do I just want to hold off and go, hey, I'll cut 5 people, which nobody really does, but we're going to write for 5 people, or the right amount that we need to stay in the top end of this lower category, right? So I think John's right. I think the exposure that DCI has given us over the last 2 years has exploded.
It's been great.
Our activity. It's probably been the biggest growth I think DCI All Age or DCA has had in 15, 20 years.
Because it's finally it's finally getting more eyes on it. It's not just a slow decline.
If nothing else, we have 2 brand new cores that are decent sized cores. We didn't get 2 cores that are 15 people, 25 people. We got 2 cores that are marching 60, 70 people. You know, and hopefully this year they come out even bigger, right?
Hopefully, yeah.
So, and we do have 14 cores, so there is a prelims that matters. At least to the lower 12.
Yeah, now, right?
the lower 4 or 5 down there that are duking it out to make finals. There is an incentive down there to kind of be like, hey, we'd like to play the second day, So, in the same vein of what you were saying earlier, which is like, oh, I'm in a top 5, top 6 core. Now the activity is growing for us a little bit more. We can promote it like that. Before we couldn't. When we were DCA, we only had 12 cores, and there was 4 cores for each division. So that was it. Now we are DCI All Age. We have 2 additional cores. Hopefully a 3rd and 4th one shortly. As certain groups decide to get bigger and do whatever they're doing. I'm disappointed that more sound sport groups have not looked at maybe taking the leap. I hope that they are, because you look at Northern Lights was a sound sport group for 2 years, and then they were like, opportunity, let's hop in, and now they're a DC, and they have a good size. They're marching, I think, 30 or 40 horns, and they have a 5 snares, 3 tenor, 5 bass drum kind of drum line. Like they're in the middle size group of what we have, in this side. So I think it's good. I think the move to one class is going to be, I think overall it's going to be a good idea.
Yeah. And I think like this is going to sound maybe slightly judgmental, but also I think it's how I would legitimately feel if I was in one of the smaller class cores I feel like if I was a member in the smaller class cores and they brought down, we're gonna have 3 divisions now, I feel like it would be a little patronizing.
I get it.
Be like, just let us all compete with each other and place where we will. Because it gives you something to chase.
Right.
Instead of just being like, oh, we got 2nd place among our division of 4. Like, I feel like as a member, I'd be like, just let me view the full scope of things.
Right.
Or let me, just let's all compete and have rankings and have somewhere to go and work towards trying to grow in the rankings.
Yeah.
Instead of being siloed off into one another.
I think you're absolutely right. I think it helps with things like, hey, this year we placed 8th. Next year when we place 7th or 6th, that's growth. It's
going to be a big deal.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
anytime a top 12 or top 16 world class core climbs a spot or two in the rankings.
Yep.
It's a big deal.
It's a huge deal, right?
Yeah.
People cut into finals. You know, you jump into sixth. But I think sixth in world is like that difficult, achievable number. Being sixth place, like climbing into there to be able to be now
A
you're
different echelon.
Yeah, you're really starting to compete with the big boys at that point, right? So
Yeah.
I think you're right. And you know, let's talk about the big elephant in the room that everybody wants to say. You know, is that what's the point of competing when we have one core is just going to win, because the core that we happen to be a part of has been pretty dominant for the last 20 years. I have things to say about that, because for the first 8 seasons I was with my drum corps, the Reading Buccaneers, I didn't win shit.
Yeah,
okay?
man.
So
it was not a.
Yeah.
It's been a long legacy, but it was not. And there's people still marching today that were not a part of that. And
before
that
here's
was
the
a
thing,
legacy.
too. We have 20 years, but also I was gone for almost all of those years too. I had 2 championships with Reading, and then I left, and I marched for 4 years with a corps that barely came out as 6th and 7th place. I think our highest placing was 4th place one year. So I went and spent time. So most of my time, this is my 19th season on the field, I have spent losing. Not losing, but not first place, right? And I have the same emotional response and my true feelings toward it that you do, is that I mean, winning's great. I love winning, obviously, but I work really, really hard. But I also worked really, really hard when I was with those other groups, or my group back in the day. Like I told you, spent 8 seasons trying desperately to win and taking a lot of second places, I think a lot of third places in a couple of, I think I only took 4th once in there. My first season, we were in 4th place.
Yeah. These are the growth years.
Yeah, right. And people, again, I think forget that the Reading Buccaneers in the mid 90s didn't make DCA finals a couple of years. Like we spent a lot of time
there for a bit.
We were very much at risk at not existing for a long time. There was a couple of years where we didn't. I think there was one year we didn't even put a core out because we just didn't have the numbers. So, the argument for, oh, look how they just keep giving trophies to the same people. Well, yeah, but we've come up with we spent 10, 15 years from the 90s into the early 2000s developing a plan on how to run a drum corps and do things that works. And and again, and I'll talk because I know our director and I know all the other directors of the DCA course, DCI all age course, they all talk to each other. They're all friends. They all know each other. They share all this information very freely. Right. And it's, and everybody does their version of drum corps the way they want to. And I think everybody's pretty happy with that. The only people I ever see really complain about the fact that we're doing what we do so often is people who aren't marching anymore.
Often, yeah. They're usually.
Oh, okay. You're not part of the atmosphere. You're not part of the thing
what
that
are you
we
doing
do
to help
every day.
out, buddy?
Yeah. You're not volunteering. You're not being a member. You're not doing anything. You're just watching on the sidelines and being grumpy, right? Which I understand that because I'm a Blue Devils hater, and I sit and it's just me sitting on the sidelines hating, which is totally fine. But
keep winning.
But I say this just like I tell kids and my kids specifically, like when you're reading things online, don't let the haters online or anybody else talking about whatever they're talking about, don't make them believe that that's what's happening within every organization that exists. There's, we all emotionally talk about our shows and our things and our stuff every single year, and we have people that we compete against, and excuse me, but it's pretty much, let's just be fair, it's been us and Cabs the last couple of years, that have been kind of duking it out. And I was with the Caballeros for a year and I loved it. I have a lot of great friends there that we talk often about how fun it is to kind of chase each other. Like we work hard to stay ahead of them as best as we can. And in 22, we weren't, for a good bit of the year.
They beat us a few times in several head-to-heads.
Yeah, exactly. And we're ahead of us in the points going into the final. So like, it just promote, like you said, it promotes really hard work. And I think that as we move forward into the next generation of what DCI all age will become, and hopefully in the next decade, where we end up with, let's just hope, another 5 new cores in the next 10 years.
That'd be awesome.
It'd be super cool. With 17 cores, we could look at then doing exactly what DCI World does and go a world class and open class, because we can redo divisions again, right?
Yeah.
Nothing that says we have to stay with where we are, but the size that we are right now, it makes sense to do.
I think it makes the most sense. Yeah. Like 14 is a good, healthy, like we're all in this competing together kind of a number. And you made me think of this, right? Because you said, one of the complaints, right, was that they were like, sick of the Bucks winning because it's kind of samey.
Sure.
But like, that was still what was happening when we had 3 divisions.
That's true.
That's what makes me think, like, if I was in one of those like younger, in one of those smaller cores, that's why I feel like it would feel patronizing. It's like, we know that the biggest group who gets first they're still winning the overall thing.
Sure.
Like, it feels like it's just participation medals, right?
Sure.
Which is, I feel, is undermining the really hard work that these cores are actually like doing and putting in.
I agree with that.
Right?
Yeah, I totally agree with it.
Like, the small cores thing, and like it feels like it's, like putting a Band-Aid on, but is also not actually, if anything, it's just exacerbating the issues that everyone's facing, right? Getting into an actual full competitive field is going to make cores more competitive. And, I'm excited to see how stuff moves around, because I think when everyone was siloed into different divisions and classes, it felt a lot harder for stuff to like move around more freely.
Yeah.
And for, the rankings to shake up a bit.
Yeah.
Every year we do our prediction stuff. I mean, we do it on the podcast, or we just did it in conversation.
Right.
And it was exciting to think about how the ranks would shift around.
Right.
Right. And if we had just siloed each of those into these separate
Smaller
classes, right? These different strata that have, explicit running restrictions on them, that would just restrict that kind of movement and that kind of excitement.
Right. Yeah. It does make it more difficult. I think you're right. It's not like year to year that cores couldn't just be bigger and come up. Like, I want to say it was Hurricanes, I think. They bumped out of, they were world class a couple years ago, like our world class, and then they were back down to the set. We'll call it, first the big class, and then they were in the medium class, they went back up to the big
Because
class.
we used to have just 2 classes, right? And then
No. This is when there was a 3 class. There
I thought-
was one year where there were 5 of us in the big group.
Yeah.
I think it was 23
that would make
or
sense.
24.
Well,
one of the two.
didn't before 22 or something, we had like 2 classes, and
Yes.
then as we had fewer and fewer cores, they were like, guess what, guys? Now we have 3 classes. And we're like,
yeah.
why?
Yeah.
Why would we do such a thing?
And here's the thing: is like, I was okay with it when it happened. I was,
Yeah.
I was I would say I was a champion of it when it happened, because I understood why they were doing it.
Yeah.
Because we were
I get the
bleeding.
reasoning. I definitely get the reasoning behind it.
We were bleeding people. We were bleeding organizations, and
God,
they were
yeah,
going,
dropping
we were
like
just
flies.
trying to figure it out, right? And I'll say this is I think what this will also, I hope that it'll do. And if you're out there and you're part of a smaller core, one, thank you for being a part of a smaller core. Like, I think it's incredible. If you find a place that you're happy, that you love, and that it's just there, the environment's great. When you find places like that, I mean, like I said, when I started at Reading was a smaller core. We were not winning.
Yeah.
The year before I joined, Reading was in 9th place.
Wow. Yeah.
And then the year I joined, we were in 4th place. And the only reason for that is, I think, the vibe around the organization, when they had broken in, or they had gotten into 9th place, they were like, everybody was so freaking hyped. They were like, I can't believe we're back in finals. This is incredible. Because they hadn't been in finals in years at that point, right? So it was like, all that energy went into, let's make this court bigger. Let's make us good. Let me bring my friends. Let me go find some people. And there were some really great people who were part of the organization that went, I want to see my organization grow and be successful. People on administrative staffs, people on the actual staff, like the teaching and education staff, that came in and went, and they just found people. My first year, I brought my best friend with me. Yeah. My second year, I brought 7 of my best friends with me. There were 7 from my high school. That was just from my high school. I was like, let's go. And we went from a 40-person horn.
Yeah, my high school was one year we had 2 people marching there, and the next year we had like 6 or 7.
Yeah, because you go when you find a place that you love and that the environment's good, and
you go back
everything
and you tell people about it.
Right. And it has nothing to do with winning, because you were part of the core, when it was in the heyday of us winning. Now, I was not, and I was like, this place is great. I like being here, and I want other people to enjoy what I'm enjoying right now. And I just went and found my friends, and then I just had a great summer with all my buddies, and all my friends and everybody else.
Which is, what it's all about.
What you want anyway.
It's what we all keep coming back for.
Exactly. So I think it's great. Go ahead, Jack.
All right. You are correct. It was the Hurricanes who moved up to world class.
Yeah,
that was
I
in
remember
2024, the first year of DCI All Age.
Oh, okay. So the first year we were all age.
Yeah.
One thing that I remember, which I wanted to bring up, is in 2022, which was my first year, Fusion Core won a class by like 5 points. They had like the crown show or whatever.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
That was
And then
other
the very
thing.
next year, they went into open class. They got 3rd. And then they stayed in open class, and they got 4th. And then last year, they
They went back to A class, right?
I believe so.
Because that was the first
Yeah,
year they were
and
in
they got
Florida.
second in A class.
Right.
So, as Fusion between the Crown show and the next couple of shows, Fusion did not get any worse, I don't think. But the cores around them in that class had the momentum to get better within their class. So it went from Fusion going from first to second, and then just from the top of the class to the bottom, right? And that's like a real world example of what like the classes eliminating them will hopefully prevent.
Right. So, so they would have gone from someplace, say like 8th place, 9th place at that point, because they would have been, they'd probably been 9th place then, or 8th place, excuse me. And then they would have jumped up to like 6th or 7th place, right? Or because they were 2nd place in the next division up. So they would have been in whatever that was. They're moving up in placements, right? It's no different than Mandarins or anybody else jumping from 6th place to 8th place and then back down. You're just shifting around. And I think, it's the same thing. I think when you look at, I think more people are going to look at it exactly the way that you described it earlier, which was they're going to look at it from a world-class position and go, it's pretty cool. If you're in a world-class core and you make 6th place, you're doing pretty good, right?
Yeah, it's exciting.
Right. Rather than looking at, and because I think it's still a lot of people look at the open class division and they go, it's only open class, right? And I think that's the way that people maybe have been looking at the DCI world classes is going like, oh, okay, why would I want to go and participate with a class, which is really, at that point, the size that they were producing at that point, the minimum size was that they were like, what do they call them? Sound sport groups, like 20 sound sport groups that were bigger than them. So why would I want to go march with somebody that's smaller than that, right?
Yeah, right. And
so,
it feels like when you break it down and just like class size, and I don't know, it almost feels like it's just like a preseason admission of, we're not gonna touch the top guys,
right?
So,
it's
like, well, why? Even if you're not, why not set that as your goal, right?
Yeah,
or at least like, be like, establish yourself in a position of like, even if we're not going to climb towards the top,
right?
We're here and we belong here with everyone else.
Yeah.
Right. Instead of sequestering ourselves into our own miniature sub-circuit.
Here's the other thing too. And I think this is a unique thing since we're championing all age right now a little bit. This is a unique thing about all age is that you can come in as a fresh director or core and go, hey guys, listen up. We know that we're not going to win this year. Right, because we were previously an A class, so unless we're going to magically find 150 people, like I don't, we're probably not going to. But that's not our goal, right? Our goal, we have a 5-year goal, a 10-year goal, a 7-year goal, whatever it is. We have this goal to grow, and this is the unique part about it is that when you find people, they can
be there for all 5 or 10 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You get to stay and watch that growth. And you get to participate in it and be a part of it.
Imagine being like Crown in the 90s where they were like up and coming, but you could just stay there and keep going all the way until 2013.
Yeah, exactly. And then win, right? There's nothing, I say it all the time. I think one of our episodes, we ranked like our favorite years and, excuse me, still recovering from that cold. We ranked them our favorite years. And 05 is still one of my most favorite years I ever marched because it was the culmination of 8 years of work that I put in
towards the top.
I mean, tears at the end of seasons where we lost by 1/10 of a point, and to the Briggs after they won their 3rd championship in a row. Like, and we weren't complaining because they won 3 in a row. We were complaining because we just missed it, right? We didn't do enough work.
We want to
we want to be good enough to be able to be past them, right?
Yeah.
And and I'm man enough to look at it and go, I don't even understand we got 2nd place in that show. Like I look at that show all the time and I go, that doesn't make any sense to me. But okay,
that's how I feel honestly. I don't know if you ever watched like 2011 DCA finals.
Oh yeah,
so funny. For DCA historical context, the Bucks started their winning streak in 2005 and then went on the longest winningest streak in terms of show numbers.
Yeah, I think it was
drum corps.
I think it was undefeated. Too.
Undefeated all the way up until I think like 2011 finals or something like that.
I think mid 2011. Yeah,
yeah, and it was pretty late season, I think.
Yeah.
But so in 2011, that was the first year where like they didn't win, they got 2nd. Minnesota Brass.
Right? Here we go. Which is back. Which is back. They're officially. So we passed over that for for a minute as I don't want to stop you in the middle of the story, but Northern Lights and Minnesota Brass. If you didn't see that too, shout out to you guys for being officially knighted as members of DCI All Age, and you're here to stay now, which is super cool. Congratulations on that for both of you.
Yeah,
Now,
it's awesome.
anyway, continue with your thought.
But yeah, just to say, right? You watch the finals like of Bucks 2011, A Dancer's Dream, and the Minnesota show from 2011, which they were like a Viking show.
It was such a cool show,
and it was a
close.
It was a pretty close like first to second finish. And you watch that show, and we were like, that Gap show was way bigger. Their show was way better than the Bucks show from that year.
Yeah, I really like that 2011 show, and I remember because I wasn't part of
the Minnesota Brass one.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Yeah,
I wasn't.
It rules.
I wasn't part of drum corps at that time. I had taken some. I was in my hiatus years because I was having.
That was the first year I ever heard about drum corps. Because I remember seeing Cavies and Extraordinary playing the tenor feature upside down. And I was like, whoa, you can do that?
Yeah, it's drum corps, baby. We can do anything. No.
You're walking around on stilts.
Yeah. So all that to be said, I think we should. I want to circle back a little bit to say congratulations again, just one more time, to Minnesota Brass and to Northern Lights. Minnesota Brass is just, obviously they have a DCA World Champion, right? Championship.
A couple championships, yeah.
No, I think just the one.
So. Are you sure?
That was I think there was one. I could be totally wrong.
I thought they had
any
like
Minnesota
one or two
fans
others.
out there, let me know. I'm pretty
they
sure
beat us in Brass in 2015.
Yes, I mean, listen, I used to love watching them when I was in the early 2000s. I used to love their brass lines; were incredible, and they always put on good shows. They were always really fun to watch. They were one of my top 3-4 favorite corps in the DCI All Age realm of old shows to go watch. I used to love to watch Empire. I used to love to watch Syracuse Brigadiers because they were always totally fun. Renegades from San Francisco. Bring back that West Coast boys.
You want to see some real like old school fun. Here's what you could do fun with DCA in the 2000s. Watch a Renegades show.
So good.
It's so there's what's the year? It's like 2004 or something. The one where they're all dressed. They're all dressed like Neo from the Matrix.
Yes, yeah, they have the black long coats and they're wearing sunglasses.
And we're laughing, but it's because it's so fun and it's legitimately spectacularly entertaining.
Yeah.
And it's so different from any show, like not that I'm complaining about this, but drum corps, especially now, it's become so much of a production that it's very like, often very like high art vibes. Right, which is cool because it leads to some really
theateristic.
Awesome, very, very theateristic shows. And it leads to some very awesome productions.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Bluecoats 24, right, is a kind of show that like when you're really taking your art very seriously, right, that's the kind of show that can come out of that. But Renegades is like the kind of like we're working hard, we're working towards excellence, but we're also at no point like we're wink, wink, nudge, nudge like the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? At no point are they taking themselves that seriously.
Right.
Beyond their drive and their work ethic. It's a kind of like, old like Velvet Knights style
it's right,
campy show that is
it's from that area, I mean, they're all from, that's, I think they were from San Francisco. They're so much fun. And that is what drum corps can be for groups that aren't interested in winning. Right.
Yeah.
Just a total good
they're
time.
They're not sprinting and doing hard drill the whole time, but they're still making a good, powerful, and really effective show.
Yep.
And they're playing to their strengths and they're still working hard.
Yep.
Without necessarily aiming for the same kinds of pursuits and excellence that the winning corps are. Right. But they're still making a name for themselves.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jack.
So 2004 was the Neo show.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you say they don't care. They got sixth place.
Yeah.
They still
did well.
They broke 90. They got a 91 that year.
Yeah.
With the Neo show.
They were great shows. Listen, we used to say all the time.
And that's often what happens, right? Is if you lean into like the campiness and the fun and the effect of it, you attract more talent and you get more eyes on you and you put the judges in a better mood and they're more likely to give you more points.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? For a general effect, right? It still works as a competitive approach.
That was 04. Let me Jack, do you have the list of people? I want to see how good my memory is. Can I list numbers 1 through 6 in 04?
Wow.
Let me think. So first place was 04. Oh my God. Was that
these were in Scranton on the baseball field, if that helps.
Yeah. 04.
Classic.
We were in third place that year. Reading was third place. Is it Empire or Briggs won that year? I think Briggs won that year.
Empire won.
It was Empire, then Briggs, right?
By 0.4, yes.
Yeah, Empire, Briggs, us, Cabs right behind us, and then Minnesota. Yeah, and then Minnesota, and then Renegades.
Renegades.
So we used to say every year, like, because Minnesota came out every year to finals, but we never saw them. We only saw them at finals, prelims and finals. So the only two shows that they did
Kind of
with
like
us.
Atlanta CV has been for a couple of
Yes,
years
yeah,
now.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so was Renegades was the same thing. They only came out every other year. So if you go back in history, they look at they were there in 2000. It was every even year they would come out because they were coming from San Francisco. It was just super expensive to fly the whole core out
Yeah.
for a week.
So they would just do like local circuits the other years?
Yeah, whatever they did in California is whatever they did. It was a lot like Kids Grove Scouts from England. They would come out and compete in those years too. Even up as I think they were as Yokohama Inspires. They came out and competed
Kids Grove
us.
Scouts. We saw a Europe group. They came out in 2019, I think.
I think that was Kids Grove Scouts.
18 or 19.
Jubal. Jubal was there for a while, I believe, too.
Who was it?
U-Ball from the
Oh, U-Ball.
Netherlands.
Yeah, U-Ball. Which my guest that was here, shout out to oh my God, I can't think of his damn name now. This is
Hans?
Hans, yeah. Hans Gruber, not Hans Gruber. Hans Klepter. Hans Klepter, who's a big U-Ball guy. Yeah. He's I don't know if you saw the book. He gave me an entire history of U-Ball. They're over 120 years old or something like that.
It's wild.
He was telling me how their core exists and runs. It's fascinating. I have a huge, hardbound, beautiful book, and it's all in Dutch. So I can't.
Oh, yeah. I can't read a
so I
damn
can't
word
read
of
a
it.
Yeah, it's really cool. But anyway, so they've come out a couple times. So we would have a couple cores, and we were always freaked out. Everybody's freaked out because you were going into finals in like second or third.
a renegade player comes in.
And then 3 or 4 cores come to finals, and you're like, nobody knows where they're going to seat, And they upset a lot of people when they would come in.
Yeah. That's how it kind of felt with Atlanta CV in like 18, 19. They were climbing. We would not see them the whole year, and then they would show up at prelims or finals and get like
Second.
third.
Yeah,
Like,
whoa. Oh,
they would like, every once in a while, they would like beat C2, and we were like,
yeah, exactly.
oh?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a wild back then it was pretty wild. I think I love where the activity is right now. I'd love to see any of those cores we just named come back. I'd love to see the international cores have an opportunity to come back in like they used to, like the groups from Japan and the groups from the England or the European the European area and come back in and be able to have like competitive seasons and potentially instead of having 14 cores at championships have 16 or 17 cores at championships. It'd be super fun. Which we've been talking about for years. We just want to see the activity grow.
Yeah, more cores.
Yeah, just more cores, more cores, more competition, more people, and spreading the word that hey, look, you can be older and still do this. There is time in your day, and you can. I think there's many factors that keep people away from marching the weekend stuff, family, careers, business, or whatever it is.
It's a big time commitment. Yeah,
it's a big time
marching
commitment.
band is and always has been.
Yeah, but it's one of those things too where I think when you're a little bit younger, like in your age, like the 25 to 30 range, you're like, it'll always be there. Right, I can come back to it, and then they hit 30, and they go, I don't know if my body can do this anymore.
My knees hurt.
Yeah,
actually,
I haven't done any exercise in a decade, so maybe not. And you kind of get discouraged a little bit from it. And we have members this year that are auditioning, with the core that, are in their late 30s that haven't marched in a decade. Who are there just giving it their best, which is super
Let's
cool.
try it out, see what happens.
And we see that in Bush, you see that out in Cabs, you see that at all the cores where there's members who are a little bit older there, get out and get part of it. Because there's, if nothing else, I will say this, the fact that we get to go and perform in Lucas Oil is worth almost every dollar to me, that I pay for my toy.
Right.
Like, and all the beatings and all the ice that I put on my knees and the amount of,
the amount of stress that your body and mind undergo.
The amount of delicious sipping I do every Sunday when I get home because I need something to numb my body. It is. Yeah. It's challenging and tough, but it's a lot of fun. So anyway, back to the JANUAL thing because that's what we started talking about.
Yeah,
so
I was just about to say, I'm like, we gotta get back to
our tangent here.
Well, we don't have 14 rules proposals to talk about, so we can go on tangents.
That's true. That's true.
Well, we should tackle some of the other things that came out of
that's pretty much
JANUAL. Well, there's one more. I think probably was one more. It was a small thing.
Well, I thought the two big things, or the two big things, were obviously the class change and the fact that we have 2 official new DCI all age drum corps that are here. And honestly, like they're 2 unique stories in themselves, right? Minnesota obviously is a story.
Pretty storied core, yeah.
They've been around 80 years. They're celebrating their 80th season, not necessarily as a drum corps, but as an organization, as MBI, which is really neat that they're back in official capacity. And on the flip side of it, Northern Lights is in their 4th year of existence. Yeah. And I say it all the time, like, look, people are like, I don't know how to get cores big and how do you get people to stay. We talked to, I don't want to call him the assistant director because his wife is actually the director. When we did our
our I was
God,
24-hour live.
It was
our 365-minute
episode.
live stream.
For our live episode. Which you can go back and find it, and then you can go look at the us talking with them. The way that they put their organization together and the amount of fun and just like great energy that's surrounded that organization right now, I think is fantastic.
That's how you get, and that's how you do it.
Yeah, and that's how you do it.
That's on a smaller scale. That is how all of the world-class cores that are trying to climb do it too, right? They just establish an environment that people want to keep showing back up to.
And I've heard a lot of people, because they listen to the internet rumblings, they're like, oh, well, I could do that if, right? And I'm going to tell you right now, both they're a married couple that just said one day, I want to have a drum corps, and they just put literally every ounce of their energy that they have outside of their children, which their children are involved with it too, to just making it work. Like I want this, and they built it. So anybody who's out there online is like, I could do better. Go do it.
Do it. Prove it.
Call both of them and just be like, call Northern Lights. How'd you do it? Give me the roadmap, and they'll just be like, here you go, because they're two pretty awesome people.
Yeah, and they want to share that with more people. I'm sure. I'm sure they're in the same position of where they just want to see more drum corps.
Let's just go, baby. And like so you could do it literally anywhere. In any freaking state. I mean, we have so much marching band greatness in the middle of the country, and like no drum corps, which is wild to me. Yeah, no all ages either. There's lots of flat ground. There's plenty of room,
plenty of space to make a field,
plenty of space to make a field. So I think I just think it's great. I think that's it. So that was the two big things that came out of that.
Wasn't there like a small timing?
There's one third thing that I want to talk about.
Go ahead.
Not the timing thing, but that's also a thing. There was a keynote speaker who was a assistant music director on Broadway for Hamilton. For a bunch of other things.
I think he's a current musical director for Chess, which I saw on Broadway recently.
Oh, you did? Is it good?
That was his work. It was pretty good.
Yeah. Hamilton, Book of Mormon, Kinky Boots, Chess. My question that I want you guys to talk about is bringing in these big names to talk to the staffs. How do you think that's going to kind of just open the door for more ideas, or do you think it's a waste of money? So,
ooh, man, feels like cough again.
Yeah.
I have so many thoughts on this already because my mind is a flurry.
It's racing.
Yeah, it's racing. I think it's great. I think so often, so many of the people that design our shows and do those things, they're not really rewarded, I think, as much as we get as members that get to perform it. Right. It's one thing to, like, there are creators, right? And people who just love to put something out on the field. They love to write the music, they do all those things. But, there's something to be said about being a performer, right? And the gift that comes from performing whatever it is they decide to create. So I do think it's great that DCI is bringing in people to kind of go, like, here's this really incredible person that is doing incredible things outside of our activity.
But related to it.
Yeah, but related to it. Right. Maybe not as a gift, but as like a little like this. We hope you have a nice time listening to this person speak because we think he has a lot of great things to say to you. Yeah. Which is really, really cool.
Yeah. I think it makes sense for, if we're pushing the envelope of production value for these shows that we're putting on the field, right? It makes sense for the direction that our design is going to bring in a musical person from Broadway and go like, how do we make a good, engaging show that is going to grip people, that is, one of the highest levels of performative music that there is in the world, right? So I think it makes sense. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure he probably was expensive.
Yeah. But I heard there's not a single person that said that he wasn't an amazing keynote speaker. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody that I follow online or people like after he went off, like a lot of people were just like, that was incredible. Yeah. Just a really dynamic speaker and everything about it.
And like, trust me, as a teacher who has had to sit through a lot of keynote speakers where you're like, this guy's cool to listen to, but I don't see how he relates to what I do at all. Right. That's usually the issue with keynote speakers. Is they might be big and showy, but then you're like, what's the actual substance here? Right. But that's far less of a problem when you're in an artistic field. Right. And Right, when you have someone who's artistic, who like the showiness and the gravity of what they're doing is directly applicable to how you design shows artfully and in ways that grab people.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's a much more logical thing to spend money on and get people excited about as we go into.
Yeah, it's just another tool for the toolbox for a lot of those creators. Yeah. What's up, Jack?
So follow up. Now that we've had someone from Broadway, what speaker would you like them to see bring in next?
Oh, like from what area?
From what kind of? Yeah, like so we like maybe a dance person, maybe a.
No, I would love to see
the Rockettes.
The Rockettes. I think this is
recently.
more not from a design standpoint. I would like to see more people invest time into physical preparation for young members.
That could be good.
You know what I mean? Like really
physical trainer.
Yeah,
kind
a
of
physical
person.
trainer talk about because dancers are great, right? But dancers are unique in their skill sets, in how their body. If you're a dancer from child to now, like I don't think that you really. I don't think you talk to the average marcher. I think there's a lot of disconnect in what you go. Well, just do this. When you have been blessed, or you have chosen the path of a very physically fit and a very body aware activity, right? And muscles and everything else. And typically speaking, not everybody, but typically speaking, a little leaner. They're a little bit more agile. They have the flexibility because they spent their entire life
training it.
Yeah, having flexibility, right? And then you talk to young kids that go, because that's the number one problem that every musician has. They're a musician. We'll talk from a brass perspective, but and specifically even from a percussion perspective, Jesus, because those guys are worse. You walk in, you're like, I like to hit things, I like to play things, and they go, oh, by the way, you have to dance too. And there's a little bit of it at everybody's high school, but you're asking for a lot. And I think the expectation of what you are capable of is very high without the understanding of the human form from an everybody's perspective, not from just the ability as a dancer perspective.
Yeah.
Right. Or any other things like previous injuries. How do you mitigate damage for those types of things, right? Because, you have a short amount of time on tour, and I think a lot of kids end up with injuries or other things because they're not because they're being asked to do the work, but because they're not being trained soon enough with the idea of how to really handle the human body correctly before they do that, how to build strength in the right areas, how to do those things. Because
I wonder if you could find a cool intersection of both of I feel like there's gotta be some kind of like dance-based physical therapy thing out there.
I'm sure
I wonder if you
there
could
are
find
physical-
something like that could like be a cool intersection of both.
I would love to see
Of taking care of your body while also learning more about it and how to move,
Right.
right, and how to look great in a healthy way.
Yeah, and it's not. I think it's more about the protective nature of the member than it is about like how to apply the artistic portion of it. I think it's more about expectation management.
Yeah.
And going like, hey, just because you're this doesn't mean, it's like somebody walking to me like, why don't they just do it? Well, because
That's how Blue Devils teach.
Yeah, exactly. Just do it, and like, and it's fine. You either figure it out or you won't. But I do think that there's a lack of. I think there's a lack of, I don't want to say, not empathy, that's not the word I'm looking for, but true understanding of different, the human form as it exists in
empathy
different
in the
people.
understanding point and not in like the emotional sort of point. I
Yeah,
guess, or
yeah. Like just
right?
to,
being able to relate and understand, the strengths and struggles that someone else has.
Yes,
They don't have your background.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's like I say to Lydia all the time, like because I really do work a lot on my flexibility, and I'm still not that flexible. But I'm like Lydia, she's like, well, just do this. I was like, well, just go pick up 300 pounds. Can't you do that? You can't do that? Oh, that's crazy. Because I have a different skill set than
that's
she
a common
does.
thing, because she's
right.
small and is flexible and has done dance a lot. So we do like a body roll thing.
Yeah.
I remember several times you and Tiago would be like, my legs don't fit that way.
Yeah,
they don't.
I just don't. Yeah, my body just doesn't do that anymore because I have a different skill set in my body.
Do you remember
right?
Gabe? We had a friend who got big into powerlifting.
Oh yeah.
And he specifically, we had like this arm move in 23 where we like cross like that.
Yeah.
And he was like, that's like, and because he was probably thinking the same thing of like, oh, Lydia's extra flexible, so that'll probably.
Yeah.
He was like, I can't really do that. Is that like, this is kind of hard to reach? And everyone else was like, we can do that fine. I think this is you've gotten
right
too much powerlifting onto the belt.
Yeah.
Now your back muscles aren't quite
you just can't
stretching there.
right.
Right.
Which is
But that's
good.
that's a thing to consider. I mean,
right.
it's also, this is a kind of issue it's not just recent with dance. I think it's become more and more relevant with dance, but like, I can think of a couple origins of core traditions off the top of my head that began because someone came into the core who
was incapable of doing
that
whatever it
like
is.
had something wrong with one of their hands, and they had to switch, what hand they did what in, right?
Or the old cadets thing,
right,
exactly
for cover downs, or that's the same reason that Blue Knights holds their horns in their left hand,
right?
It's because someone came in back when we didn't have 3 valves, right? And they weren't able to like hold their hand with just hold their horn with just one hand, in the right hand, right? So they switched it up. So like the process of needing to accommodate people that have the skill set and the drive, but are limited in other ways.
Right.
It has been a thing for
a long time,
decades.
Yeah. I just think it's interesting. So does that answer your question, Jack? I think that's I think that's what I'd like to see. And honestly, one, does that answer your question? Yeah.
Yeah. That's
okay.
That's.
I think they should bring a Zydeco guy in.
I don't even know what that is.
You don't know that genre?
No.
Oh, you should look it up. You would love it.
I think that's a good idea because this is for designers, right?
Right.
I'm trying to think. So for designers,
it's not for like physical fit therapy. It's you're talking about someone who can talk about designing a show that's accessible to everyone.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And here's I think there's a caveat into the next thing that I wanted to say is that, and I don't know if you've heard this rumor. We'll call it a rumor. If it's not officially out there, I'm going to start it. But I think that DCI is really looking at turning the JANUAL into a WGI Con thing, where it's like a week-long event that anybody can attend, where they have keynote speakers, they have other people that are going to come. But it's for designers, it's for maybe marching members that want to come and take a look, for educators that are looking to be have a different education level. What's the thing that they do, the Midwest low brass thing, or the
clinic?
The clinic. What the heck is that thing that they do out there? I don't know. It's a big college thing. Tons of college kids go to it.
Okay.
But it's a huge conference, we'll call it that, where there's dozens of people that come out and speak, and you can go and look at those things. There's a cost associated with it, obviously. But I think DCI would really benefit from it. We are, they call it marching music's major league for a reason. We are the top of the marching genre, so to speak, when it comes to what we do and how we do it. So why not have those people, pay them? They can make a little bit more money out of it. It's a big event where everybody can kind of get together and just kind of talk and, trade ideas and do all the things. And, these kind of conferences exist in all genres of everything. Like I used to go to WPPI, which is a wedding photographers professional international, because Jess used to speak there.
Yeah.
She would go there and we would do whatever, and I would just hang out in the back and, be like, hey, look at that. And, but I mean, there was like 100,000 people that would come to Vegas for a 4 or 5 day conference. So
Crazy.
you just meet so many people, right? And even people that I like, why would I ever need to meet that person? Fascinating human beings. You get to talk to people.
You see what another walk of life is like.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. Like Indianapolis, they already love us there. It's another time of the year. It's the halfway point of the year where you could maximize hotels. You could maximize the conference center. You could bring everything in and really start to generate revenue for the city and generate revenue for DCI and all these other different cores. And, you can have performing groups play and blah, 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 whatever you want to do. There's a million things you could do with it, right? But I think that that's what's going to end up happening. That's what I think the JANUAL is going to turn into in the next 5 to 10 years.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first, maybe second. So depending on who you've talked to.
Yeah.
So because I've heard a couple
direction for it to take. Yeah.
It would be neat. I think it's really, really a great idea. Again, just from the standpoint of providing more stuff for us to consume.
Yeah,
in this
making
genre.
the community more interconnected, or giving more people opportunities to network and connect and be exposed to ideas outside of their out of how their core runs, and then the end results of other cores, right? And you can get some different perspectives,
especially for new designers and people like this, where this activity is always run so aggressively.
And with any kind of design approach thing, it's really like you don't realize like how often just hearing another person's perspective makes you go like, whoa,
Oh.
like, oh, I never thought of
Right.
that thing being important before,
Yeah.
right? And so the more opportunities for people to do that, right,
Yeah.
and
It's
learn,
just- it's a
or
space.
maybe to spark interest in design if you're a member that's going out there, right? That could be.
I think it's like, as I watch the activity become younger from a designer standpoint, I think it's a really great opportunity for the old generation to kind of impart some of their knowledge while the new generation comes in and absorbs a little bit of it, but also brings a new creativity that young
Yeah.
people always bring into
Yeah.
the things, right?
Fresh ideas.
So, but you gotta draw from someplace, right? So,
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that's cool. The last thing, we'll do one last thing, the 30 seconds, which is what it is. And correct me if I'm wrong on this one, Jack, because I think I know this
I think it
one.
went from 8:30 to. I think it's
Minimum-
it's
it's
the
minimum
minimum time
time.
for open class for all age.
For all
specifically.
age, yeah. There's a minimum time requirement. So, like, in case you don't know, with the DCI rules, we all have rules for amount of people
Yeah,
and
minimum
times.
maximum time.
right.
You
The
can't
amount
go above 138 beats per minute.
Right.
You know.
exactly. Yeah, everything's got to be at 120.
Yeah.
Only marches.
Yeah.
But
Only shoes of classics.
yeah, it was
And trying that new age crap.
8:30. Now it's 8 minutes. So
Yeah.
shows can be even shorter now if you wanted
Yeah.
to make them shorter.
Which I think probably is mostly. I mean, our shows are around 10 minutes long, and they're going to stay around that long. It's not going to affect us.
Yeah, I can imagine
It's
that.
probably going to affect like smaller cores or cores that have like a more restrictive rehearsal schedule.
Yeah.
And I think it makes sense, right? 8 minutes is still a good length for a show. It gives them a little more flexibility for designing a smaller, shorter show.
Yeah.
It's easier to put together.
30 seconds is a lot of time throughout the season to clean.
Yeah.
And write and do all those other things too.
I mean,
and
how often have we spent an entire block cleaning 10 seconds
Right, exactly.
of a show?
Yeah. And a lot of cores have gone down to a smaller format over the winter where they've did their one weekend a month kind of thing over the winter until
Yeah.
like April. So this gives them the same thing. This kind of just gives the opportunity to not have to cram so much, because before our shows would be like 11, 12 minutes long. We were doing it on the weekends, and there's a lot. There's a lot to do.
I kind of want to go back to that.
I
I want
do
a
like
longer show that's paced well.
Yes, correct.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I said that to Paul not that long ago. I was like, yeah, our shows are only like 9:30, but there's literally no stopping. So like, I'll take 30 seconds of clapping and make it a 10-minute show. I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. Like, yay, look at you guys, because we
Yeah.
never leave an applause
Or
break.
all the times
ever.
where Blue
It's the
Goats in
same length.
Blue Goats in their 13-minute shows.
Yeah.
Have a whole section where they go off to the back field and like do some stuff that's like
yeah.
a bit of a breather.
Yeah, exactly. Give me
knows
time
that.
to breathe a little bit. But
It
you
is
know.
more. It is every second you add is more time to clean though.
Yeah, which I totally get too. So, but anyway, all right. So
I think that's about it for the Janual.
yeah, I think it's good. It's a nice little first episode of the year, the 2026, because
Yeah.
it is, yeah. And or is it? Do we? No.
The Stocking Stuffer episode may have technically been January.
Was it? Did
It's
I
around
put that
Christmas
out
time.
after? Yeah. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff going on. I got a little late with that. It's
There's
okay.
no- time doesn't exist.
Time
in the
doesn't. Yeah,
holidays.
it's not a real thing. It's a construct.
Yeah.
So anyway, that'll wrap it up for the day. In case you haven't done, if you're still hanging around, please, we'd love to hear your comments about the whole thing. If you haven't already started furiously typing about what we're talking about, make sure you do that. Go check out our Patreon down here. Make sure you click like, make sure you click subscribe, all that kind of cool stuff. And until next time, I'm going to shoot it over to Robbie.
Yeah, well, until next time, we'll come at you with another episode sometime soon as we get closer and closer to the Drum Corps competitive season proper. But until then, off cycle.